She is the person who crafted the thing that is most likely to change the world. Please join me in welcoming our founder, Miss Angela Jerabek.
It is a beautiful morning. Oh, thank you all for being here. I cannot believe I get to stand up here and say it's BARR's 25th birthday. 25, can you believe it? When I look around this room, I see people who have been doing BARR for 20 years. I see those that are here for the first time to learn about it. And as I start, I want to take a breath. I want to acknowledge all of you. You are why we are here a quarter of a century later, and we are stronger than ever before. So I'm going to start in a way that if you've come to the conference is going to be familiar to you. I'm going to tell you a story about my family. And of course, it's a story about BARR. I have a son named Jonah, and I have a daughter named Haley. This here is a Haley story. Haley is a natural athlete. It is something that she was born with. It's a unique gift. In high school, she was a 3-sport athlete. She competed year-round in both club soccer, club gymnastics, and in college, she was a Division I runner for 4 years at Xavier, captain of both the cross-country and track team. Haley was always busy. In addition to athletics, she took demanding classes, she was in orchestra, and she signed up for every club and activity that was ever listed. It may surprise you to find out that Haley often had an overcrowded schedule. So when she was in 8th grade, my husband and I sat Haley down and said, Haley, we are going to help you find some balance. So you can keep all your school activities, but you've got to choose either club gymnastics or club soccer. So she chose soccer, but she never fully left gymnastics, so she was quite well known for her flip throw-in. But a kid who needs to move cannot be stopped from moving. It wasn't before long that Haley came to us and said, I want to try out for a winter sport because you said school activities were okay. I'm like, okay, what team do you want to try out for? She goes, the dance team. I'm sorry, the what team? Haley's only experience with dance was when she was 4 years old. She was hanging upside down in the ballet bar, and that's why we put her in gymnastics in the first place. So we said, well, the dance team at your school's very competitive. But a deal's a deal. You can try out, but you need to keep in mind this team's won first or second place in state for the past decade. So Haley is both very optimistic and very determined, maybe more determined than prepared. She went to that month-long training camp in her soccer shorts, her soccer socks, and a tank top. The hundreds of other dancers wore dance clothes. They actually were dancers. So she would report to us in the evening, things are going pretty well. I don't know the words they're calling out for the different dance moves, so I'm following along with my neighbor. And I've called my friends who are dancers, and they're helping me at night, they're helping me on the weekend. But I really think that, in general, I'm doing pretty well. So we'd say, hey, show us your routine. So she would do it in the kitchen, and she would fall down. I'm like, are the other dancers falling when they're dancing? She's like, no, but I'm making great eye contact, and I'm always smiling. She goes, I think it's going pretty well. So to Haley's credit, she said, I don't think I'll make the varsity team. It's good. She's like, but there's some other teams I feel really good about. So she practiced all the time. She's practicing in the morning, she's practicing at night, she's going to her friend's house, and we all know how this fairy tale story ends. Haley makes varsity. Except this isn't a fairy tale story. This is real life. So the day the teams were announced, Haley comes home, she closes her door and says, I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes what you need is your dad. John comes home, he knocks on her door, Haley comes running out, she's sobbing, throws herself in his arms and says, Dad, I know I don't know how to dance, but I thought they would see my potential. So my heart hurt for her. She tried so hard, but I also loved the way she understood this experience. I don't know how to dance yet. She knew herself, but she also thought, I thought they would see my potential. She knew there was more, if the right person would see it and support her. Isn't that often what we go all around thinking and feeling? Each and every one of us have such great potential that goes unseen and untapped. Amazing things can happen when that potential is tapped into. BARR is built to do just that, for our young people as well as for our educators. So 25 years ago, I was a school counselor in a first-ring suburb right outside of Minneapolis. Half the students failed a course for 5 years in a row. I went to my principal to say, I think I should resign. I'm not doing a good job. He said, problem wasn't me, wasn't our school, and the failure rate was endemic across the nation. He then encouraged me, come up with a better way. Well, upon reflection, I knew the failures was not about my colleagues. I worked with amazing educators. All of you are amazing educators. I also know it wasn't the students. The students were incredibly talented. I really concluded this had to be the system we were trying to work in. The state of the education is hopelessly outdated in our country. It's a system that was built for factories to produce things. It is not a system for schools to support humans. It shoves kids and teachers into silos and puts enormous barriers in terms of realizing potential. Like, we need to redesign the school. 2 pillars, relationships and data. It needs to be real-time data, not data I'm looking at from 2 years ago. I need real-time data, both what's happening in the classroom, but qualitative data. What's happening at recess? What's happening with their friends? What's happening on the athletic fields? How do we see this whole student? And we needed to focus on relationships. Staff to student to student, and staff to staff. And we absolutely had to focus on strengths. There's so many things that are working. How can we build from them? So at our school, we put BARR in place. First year, failure rate got cut in half. Over the next decade, the failure rate kept dropping, and so did risky behaviors. At the same time, we had an exponential number of students taking honors courses, so much so, ACT named us the College and Career Going Model of the Year. Successes are for all of our students, but the biggest impact is for the students farthest from opportunity. Students living in poverty, Black, and Latino. The BARR model was using the potential in our schools with the same students, same staff, but was better results. I want to acknowledge a couple of people who saw the potential of BARR before it was one of the most researched in the country. The first is Bob Laney. And Bob Laney is here today. And yes, by the way, they did spell my name wrong in the yearbook, in case you're wondering. He was the principal I tried to offer my resignation to. Bob wouldn't let me resign. Instead, he modeled for me research findings we would later confirm that students and all people do their best when they experience high expectations and high support. He had high expectations for me. Rather than walking away from a national education problem, he wanted me to dig deeper, come up with solutions. And Bob has always had unwavering support. That combination of high expectations and high support is why we're here today. So BARR is a pretty simple idea. It's right there in the BA, building assets, of our name. What do you already have in you? What's your strength? In other words, what's your potential? If I pay attention to you to let you know I care about you, I make eye contact, I keep smiling, your potential is going to turn into your actual. What you could be will become who you are. Another result of paying asset-based attention is soon you and I will have a relationship. BARR understands the incredible power of relationships. The most important thing is that relationships continue to happen with everyone. So relationships have been critical to the growth of BARR. After 10 years of success at my school, I thought this should work any place. We're not touching curriculum, we're not touching the bell schedule, we're not changing staff. Rather, it's kind of getting everyone centered on relationships and data. But I'm fiercely protective of the education profession, and I only wanted schools to adopt the model if I knew it would work there. I wanted national data and evidence. So it led us to the Investing Innovation I3 grant, now known as EIR. If BARR wasn't effective in a given setting, I was never going to advise it. Educator to educator, I would say don't do it. So I wanted to test it all over the country. So I wanted to go to the East Coast, the West Coast, rural settings, urban settings, stay in the Midwest and the suburbs. Now, contextualize this. I'm a school counselor on special assignment at this point. I couldn't exactly just start walking into schools to say, hey, I developed this thing at my school. Do you want to do it and do a national study? So in comes the power of relationships. I have a long friendship with a leader in Maine. Her name is Susan Sabel. She's also here today. So I called her and I said, Susan, do you think there's any rural schools in Maine that would want to do BARR and maybe do a national study? So Susan said, why don't you come out here and we'll find out. So Dr. Anu Sharma, who's been on this journey with me from the very beginning, Bob Laney and I set off. We spent a week in Maine throughout the winter of 2011, literally driving door to door, and we started on a literal gravel road. I'm approaching schools to say, do you want to do BARR, and then do you want to do a national study? So let me tell you, the challenges I had in middle school selling candy bars door to door, nothing compared to this. So after many, many, many declines, enter Jim Boothby, superintendent of Bucksport Schools. Bucksport is a beautiful coastal town in Maine. He reviewed the data from our school. He thought the idea made sense. He saw the potential of BARR. Bucksport, Maine was the first school to agree to study BARR after the original site in Minnesota. Hemet, California signed on soon thereafter. Over the next 10 years, the American Institutes of Research conducted the most rigorous research that can be done, randomized control trials. We worked with 78 participating schools in 22 states and D.C., and the research proved that BARR was responsible for over 20 statistically significant impacts. Math and reading scores go up. Graduation rates increase. Risk factors go down. Disciplinary incidents go down. Suspensions go down. So does chronic absenteeism. Students are coming to school because they are known, they are valued, and they are cared about. Students also reported feeling supported, engaged, and experiencing high expectations. Staff also reported it as a better environment to work in. All proximate measures to staff retention. We truly know the power of opening up the potential in our schools with relationships and data. So we've expanded from one school in the Midwest to 350 schools in 22 states, serving 350,000 students and thousands of educators. BARR honors and values educators, supporting them in recognizing what students may or may not yet see in themselves. We do it by using data to guide us to see the whole person, by building relationships and working together, by making eye contact, by really seeing them, and by smiling to let them know we truly see them, both who they are now and who they can become. When I think about these 25 years of BARR, what excites me most is how much more potential we're going to fulfill ahead of us. You truly are most likely to change the world. Here's to the students we serve, here's to the teachers we support, and here's to the next quarter of a century. Thank you so much.